Welcome to Code Savvy Presents, a podcast about computer science, technology, accessibility, and inclusion.
Yeah, my name's Adrian Devezin, the executive director and founder of Empowr. And so we teach software development as a multi-year program to high school students of color for the goal that when they graduate, we have a hiring partner ready to get them a job. And so that's our goal, is to kind of end these generational poverty cycles that just plague so many communities. And we're focused on communities of color right now, but the goal really is just to help all oppressed communities, all underrepresented communities. And so if we can't do it directly, try and route the person to someone who can.
Yeah. What age groups are you working with?
So it's for high school students, so they can join in ninth or 10th grade right now. We hope to open it up next year to juniors and seniors too, so we can handle all grades of all high
High
school
school.
grades.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about your journey into tech. What first got you interested in technology and this field?
Yeah, I think I was always kind of a tinkerer. So my parents, they would get me all these little engineering kits. I don't know what made them know to get it to me. I remember my first one. It was a hand-me-down from my brother. It was kind of like this. It was called an erector set, and it didn't even have all the pieces. But I was always just trying to
Didn't
build different
matter.
things with it. And one of them was like you could build like it was like a mini engine that like ran like a little car, and it was just so cool to me. I have no idea if this company's still in business. I need to look them up, but it was so cool to me. And so I did stuff like that. One time they bought me like a life-size alligator like kit that would like walk.
Okay.
So it was so awesome. I think I lost the pieces. That one never came to fruition. I lost like two of the important pieces, but I was like 6.
Right.
So I always loved to tinker, and yeah, when I got older, it was less about the physical engineering. After ninth grade, in ninth grade, I was in Japan, and I was in this cool engineering class.
Yeah.
And the teacher there, like he really saw that I loved it, and he really helped me out. But then in 10th grade, we moved to Italy. My dad was stationed in Italy. They didn't have anything like that, so it was more software. That when I just get home, I would just play around on my laptop and just try and do different things. Try and get in trouble is what I was really trying to do.
Well, and sometimes that's the best way to learn it, right? Is try
Yeah.
to do things. Did you have a mentor, or like a group that kind of supported you as you got started?
No, not at all. It was just I like to see
Self-learning.
how things worked. I never I never really got a mentor,
Okay.
which is kind of interesting. I just noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had like little mentors at work, just like mentoring me from the company. But that was, I think, it was the most interaction with a mentor I've had.
Okay. What was your first job in technology?
Yeah, it was at this health tech company. Um, so I guess that was my first in technology. My first one was it was at a company called ServiceNow. It was for one of their third
Yeah.
parties. It wasn't for them directly. But that was my first in IT. And
Was that like help
I'm not gonna
desk,
lie, I faked it. I faked it every
kind of
day.
thing? Help desk
Yeah,
kind
well, it
of
was a little bit
position,
more
or
involved. Like I was doing infrastructure work for
okay.
people's cloud. I didn't know anything, and I got the first interview though, and they're like, "You need to know this, this, and this." So I looked it up, and I was like, "I think I can fake this." And
All
so
right.
I was like,
And it
"Yeah, I
worked.
know it." And yeah, so I got that IT job, and then I left that one. I got my first job in software development at this health tech company that I didn't feel like I was gonna get it, and they called me back, and I was just like, it changed my life, obviously.
Yeah. Did you have any kind of like school training in that, or was it all kind of self-taught on your own because you were interested in it?
Yeah, so I did go to this program in Tennessee for a little bit. It was like 6 months. Um, I didn't really, I wouldn't consider it helpful, but that was like the most like instructional style school thing I've done.
Okay.
But how I really learned was I just wanted to build an app, and I decided I was going to build an app that helped people earn Bitcoin. And so I just started doing tutorials on my phone just constantly
Yeah.
until I had to figure out how do I make a screen. Look that up. I just kept doing that, and eventually I had this whole functioning app, very poorly written and horrible security, but it functioned,
That stuff
and I
comes
released
later.
it. Yeah, and it took off. But So yeah, I was definitely like a very hackish developer. I hacked everything together, but I
Yeah.
could always get it working. And yeah, once I got the jobs, then I learned like the finer points, right?
Right, right. Where that's when all the details and the security comes in.
Right.
What if you had any, what were some of the barriers that you faced, when you were a young developer just starting out, and like how has that kind of impacted the work that you do with Empowr?
Oh man, there was so many barriers, and one of the most important was just being taken seriously.
Yeah,
Um, people didn't take me seriously. It was just getting people to give me the time of day to be like, look, I can do this job. I know I can do it. I've done my own stuff, and so nobody took me seriously, and then I didn't know the technical terms for things, right? Because I was self-taught. I learned how to hack
right,
things together. So even after getting the job, because I didn't know the technical terms, people would look at me dumb in meetings, or they would laugh at me and things
right,
like that. And so it was very discouraging pretty much the whole time. And but I would only talk about the positives with people. I'd only be
right.
like, look, I'm making great money. I got this perk. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But honestly, it was a struggle. A lot of these companies did not treat me well just because I didn't have that, formal education behind the process.
Right. Has that impacted how you are building your programs out for Empowr? Like, do you talk about that kind of stuff with the kids that you're working with now?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I talk about it with them a lot. One, I'm way more. I tell them to be way more demanding with their respect as well, which I wish
Yeah,
I would have been. But I'll tell them like, there's a lot of people willing to hire you. Once you get that first job, don't you ever think you have to sit there and take anything.
right.
You'll start getting job offers in, and you take them. You don't have to have that company loyalty if you don't feel like the company's being loyal to you.
It has to
And
go
so,
both ways, right?
right.
Yeah,
And so we talk about that a lot. I'm very real with my kids. They know more about me than like so many people. Yeah, we talk about those struggles that they will face in this industry, just being from different communities and things like that.
right, right. When you look back at kind of how Empowr has evolved, what are some words of advice that you would give yourself when you first started out?
I wish I could just tell myself it's gonna work out.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, when Empower started, like I met this girl. We didn't really know each other. She got pregnant, and that's when I was building Empower. So I'm trying to figure out how to build a family, figure
right,
out how to have my dreams. I was at one of the most hostile workplaces I've ever been at. It was, I mean, I could sue the company for like 30 million easy, but it was just that bad. But that's just not who I like to be.
right,
But it was just such a stressful and hard moment in my life. I had to try and figure out like what is being a father to someone who wasn't even ready for a father. Like it wasn't a thought in my mind.
right,
So constantly like there was always these pulls of where my time has to be in like a million different directions. And I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. And so I would just kind of internalize it. And I would just fear I was gonna fail at everything. And so my I would just tell myself it all will work out exactly how it's supposed to. Like let go of the fear, the anger,
yeah.
everything's gonna work out.
It always does. It might not feel like it, but it sure always does. When you're kind of planning what you're going to teach through Empowr, what are some of the most sought after, like important skills that you think young people can learn in technology today? Is it a certain language, or is it a certain framework, or like what do you think
Yeah.
is super important?
Um, I mean, there's a lot of debates over languages to me. Some people say Python, others will say Java or JavaScript. To me, once you get really good at one of those languages, you can learn the others. Although some of them have different schools of thoughts between functional and object oriented, you can learn the others. And
Yeah,
so I would say the best thing to do is honestly to play around. Um, just decide a project that you want to build and build it with whatever technology is the most popular at the time and get really good at it. Specialize in the area you want to be in. And if you're finding like, hey, this might not be the exact area of employment, you'll still have all the skills necessary to learn any other language.
right.
And if it's not development, then I would say cloud IT. I'm not too well versed in the space. AWS I know is king right now, Amazon
Right.
Web Services. But I hear Microsoft is really coming for the throne. So I couldn't
It's a
tell you which
constant
one.
battle.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you which one for cloud IT, but I can tell you one thing is they both pay extremely well, and
Right.
that I'm pretty sure if you learn a lot about AWS, a lot of those same concepts will translate to Microsoft, will translate to Google. Um, so
Well, and
I would say one of
that's the
those
nice
areas.
thing too about language. Like once you kind of know one, like you said,
Yeah.
you can kind of go into others and start to figure things out and see, oh, they're different in these little nuanced ways. But overall, you have the fundamentals of being able to look at it and understand. So
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things about like being able to do that is you kind of learn throughout that process of having to like switch between all these different scopes of like Kotlin to Swift or Microsoft to AWS. You learn how you learn, and I
yeah,
think that's like the most powerful thing that at least for me, I didn't learn that until I learned technology. It's just learning how I learn, and then I realized I can do anything. Like there's nothing someone could tell me I can't do because I know I can learn it. I know if I put my
exactly.
mind to it, I can figure that out. And I
Exactly.
think, I mean, that's what I'm most excited for my kids to get is like, you really can do anything. I know it's so cliche. Everybody tells you I sound corny, but you really
No,
can.
it's
You
real.
can't do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. And once you get over that first, like, this is hard and I can't do it, can't do it. And then once you get it, everything is golden.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's an amazing feeling too,
Yeah. It
once you get
is.
that.
Yeah. If you had the opportunity to have three people, anyone alive or dead, speak to the youth in your programs, who would they be and why?
Thinking of three was hard. So I wanted to think of like the three different areas I really try to focus on with my program.
Yeah.
One was just all about who they are as individual. And so when I thought about that, when I thought about like what's a third party that's been just impacted me, I didn't want to go to family or close friends. And
Yeah.
it's gonna sound kind of corny, but Lauren Hill.
Okay.
Um, um, her music, everybody knows her most famous album, but she has this one MTV Unplugged, and
That album
she just makes
is
it
fire.
right. I
Yeah.
love it. It's just so much. It's so much self in there. It's so much reflection. It's so much just you have to sit there and think like about what she says and how it could reflect on your life. And I was like, I would love for her to talk to my students and just have one of these conversations, like with my students like that. Yeah, I don't even know if these younger kids know Lauren Hill. Do they know Lauren
I don't, probably
Hill?
not. Probably not, but that album is amazing.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
good choice.
So it would definitely be Lauren Hill. And so
Okay.
next one, I talk about him a lot. Probably still just as controversial. Probably still controversial, but Huey Newton. And for the sake of community, um, I think his understanding of how community works was just beyond what most people would truly grasp. Reading his writing, and so it anyone who just takes time out to read his writing, it's like whether you agree with his political beliefs or not, he really understood how his community worked and what it needed to survive. He, without any other formal education, understood that, his community, he's over here asking people to march and to care about political issues. And he's like, they're hungry. They're not going to give
Right.
me a dime
They
of my
want,
time because they're hungry. He's like,
give
I
them
need to
some
figure out how to
food.
feed them. Then he was like, but they're cold. He's like, we need to get them the basic rights before we can get them to care about anything.
Yep.
And I mean, reading his talks on that was a big foundation for Empower. We feed all our kids. We
Yeah.
started giving clothes to all our kids this year as well. And we can't go as in depth for the kids who are virtual, but when every kid walks into that classroom at South Atlanta, they have food, they got a hydrating liquid, they got some vitamins, and they got warm clothes, and they have a safe environment. We make
Yeah.
sure it's safe for everyone. And so once we did that, everybody's attentive. Everybody wants to pay attention.
Right. They have the energy and the ability to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was that was a big thing. I would say the next one,
Yeah.
and this will be one that changes, would just be someone that the kids actually like. I was like, I'm an adult to them still. Like I'm still
Right.
corny. I'm
Right.
still maybe they'll appreciate me when they're like 30. But
Right.
but
So
so I was
whoever's hot at the moment.
Yeah, and so when I asked them their favorite musical artist, Lil Baby, I have not listened to this person's
I
music,
don't
so
know
I
who
have
that
no
is
idea.
either.
Yeah, but I heard it's Da Baby, but they're like, no, it's Lil Baby, and so I was
All
like,
right.
okay, all right. So but
Google. The
I
old
don't know
people
what he
will Google
says,
that.
but yeah, they love him. Whatever he says, they love him. So I wish he would come to the school and just pump him up about the program. Be like, this is it. I
Right.
know it's 3 4 years, but stick this out. You
All right.
know?
Well, maybe in some way, Lil Baby will hear this and he'll be like, I'm coming.
I think it would set South Atlanta on fire. I think the whole
Probably.
school would. I think the whole school would try and pile into that one classroom.
Well, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for that. Last but not least, how can people get involved and support the work that you're doing at Empowr?
um, Yeah, that's one of the best ways to support, honestly. Um, Donations are obviously as a nonprofit, like, right? Isn't that
Yep.
always number one?
Yep.
But there's also those other ways for those who can't donate, who still buy stuff on Amazon every once in a while to use that Amazon Smile thing. But even other than that, word of mouth. Even my kids say, like, nobody knows you. You need to start talking more. So
Yeah.
yeah, word of mouth. Just, following us on social media, spreading any cool posts, sending us ideas of cool things you think we can do, or even telling us some problems in your community that you face. We really try and go in depth, and as we move to each community, we adapt. We
Yeah.
want to know what the problems of this community are, so we can help the children in those unique ways. There's so many ways. And lastly, making connections. You know anybody at different organizations, you're like, this company should be hiring your kids. I know this person. Let me introduce you.
Right.
Or, here's, I know these funders. Let me introduce you to them. Or even a school. Like, this teacher is really interested. They've been trying to do STEM. Can they have your program? It's free for schools for us. And so,
Right.
while we're focusing on South Atlanta this year, next year we want to expand. And when we go to different cities, having partnerships already and relationships established with schools would obviously be ideal, because then we can just, all right, tell us when to be in the class and we're there.
Right.
So it's, yeah, but those kind of different relationships has really proven to be key. We're here off relationships.
Right.
And that's what we try and establish with the community so much.
Well, and I will shameless plug the partnership that we have with Code Savvy and you being on our board. I think that's thank you for that, and hopefully we can keep everybody learning and expanding as we go.
Yeah, definitely. That is definitely the goal, and been loving Code Savvy as well. It's done a lot. And so, yeah, thank you for
Awesome.
being the ED and making sure the
Yeah,
organization is
no,
running as possible.
we got to do it, right? And got to get these kids learning.
Yeah,
There's
that's one of
too many opportunities to be passing by.
yeah, that's one of the things. A friend of mine, Saturu Ned, he said, he's like, you do the work that must be done because it
Yeah,
must be done.
yeah,
And it's, I think in the nonprofit space, that's such a reality, right? Because it's not like you couldn't get paid so much more elsewhere, right? But you take those hits, you spend more time, you take more hits to do this work just because it has to be done. Somebody's
it
got to do
has
it.
to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing such a good job at that. And
You
thank you
as
for
well.
also taking the time to talk today.
Thank you for inviting me. This is really cool. I really enjoy this.
Code Savvy Presents is produced by Code Savvy, a 501c3 nonprofit organization committed to making computer science accessible. Visit us at www.codesavvy.org.